Hey, we are here checking out GoldenEye 007 for the Nintendo Wii. And while I have yet to encounter any GoldenEyes, it's a lot like the N64 game, and a lot not like the N64 game, if that makes any sense. Kind of a fan of GoldenEye 64, my first, first-person shooter that I really got into. And while there's a lot that remains similar from the Golden Gun to the modes, to the maps, it has been upgraded, per se, to a more modern first-person shooter. And I apologize in advance for some horrible aiming here. I'm still getting used to the controls, still adjusting the sensitivity, and this was one of my very first games online, so yeah, we're missing all over the place. But we're playing Golden Gun mode here, where you get 1 point for a regular kill, and 5 points for a Golden Gun kill. Playing to 40 on a map that, frankly, I forgot the name of, but it doesn't really matter. Some of the maps are really good, and some are really bad. There's a lot that, the indoor maps I feel are more difficult to see what's going on. As you can see, the graphics aren't so hot. They're decent for Wii, but they're nothing special. And indoors, where there's a lot of browns and wall textures, it gets kind of confusing of what are the enemies, what are the walls, what are the staircases. These outdoor ones, though, aren't too terrible. You know, the snow effect's decent, and here we are finally picking up the Golden Gun, only to get killed right away. And something I don't like about GoldenEye so far is I feel there's a lot of A, simultaneous kills, where you kill your opponent at the exact same time as they kill you, and B, especially in Golden Gun mode, it's like, okay, we go and get the Golden Gun and get killed immediately. There's not really an opportunity to go on a streak. There's no real rewards for streaks, because everybody's basically sprinting to kill the guy with the Golden Gun or kill anyone who's going around. And as you can see, we start off not doing so hot here, but hopefully, as we get a little bit more adjusted to the controls, we should pick up some steam. And I think starting right about now, we are going to go on a little bit of a streak here as we take out this guy who has the Golden Gun. I mean, as you'll notice, they do have, borrowed quite a bit from modern shooters in terms of, plus 10 XP, they show a lot of feedback right on the screen. There's melee, there's sprint, there's all sorts of stuff like that. That guy had no idea what was coming as we kind of hold out in the corner here and wait for some easy prey. I wasn't really familiar with this map or knowing where any of the entrances or exits to this building were. So I was just kind of holding up in this corner hoping that there wasn't an easy point to shoot me from the ceiling or something of the sort. And I'm playing with the Classic Controller Pro, which works pretty well. I got it for GoldenEye, and I really like it for Wii games. But there's no, vibration, no rumble, and the guns really don't feel like they have much kick. There's not much, that was not so good. Turned our head for 1 second, and the guy jumps in the window and kills us. But there's not a whole lot of weight to the guns, I guess, and that's something that's kind of disappointed me. But all in all, it's a very solid game, and I think it adds a really good first-person shooter to the Wii, something that the Wii hasn't had yet. And this is a very fun multiplayer game. If I only had a Wii, I could see myself putting a considerable amount of time into it. There is a leveling up progression, there's a lot of maps, there's a lot of modes. And the online community so far, at least, seems to be decently healthy. Will it ever replace or supplant Call of Duty? No. Even Medal of Honor? I don't know. I had more fun with this than Medal of Honor, because it is a little bit more arcadey and isn't just trying to be a Me Too, Modern Warfare shooter. And right about now, we're getting a hang of the controls, and we are losing right now, but we're about to go on a 6-kill streak. And I don't even remember what the equivalent of a 6-kill streak gets you in Modern Warfare 2, but it doesn't matter because we get nothing here, except the pure satisfaction of killing 6 guys in a row. I mean, I really like GoldenEye. I haven't played enough to give any tips or map strategies, but it's a very solid game, and if you have a Wii, especially if you only have a Wii, it's definitely a must-buy. And even if you have a 360 or a PS3, I would recommend getting it. The local play is really good. Split screen is as fun as it was back on the N64, and the online isn't too terrible either. And I've heard good things about the single player, so I'm pretty interested to check that out. So yeah, GoldenEye, thumbs up. Alright, just pause and think for a second. Does this look like every other God of War game you've ever played before? If you answered yes, you're absolutely right, because God of War Ghost of Sparta is just like every other God of War. I don't even think it qualifies as a new coat of paint. It's more like a different color of the same coat of paint, And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a great game. I've had a lot of fun with Ghost of Sparta, and it does add a handful, or more like a pinch, of new mechanics. But for the most part, it's God of War as you know it and as you hate it. You'll see some of the execution kills that were pretty fun in God of War 3, and they're pretty fun here. The game looks really great. You know, fully pushing the PSP, looks amazing. It still has that tinny sound to the audio, which to me just is really bothersome. I don't know. God of War, yes, it's about the combat, and yes, it's about the combos, but the audio, I really appreciated in God of War 3 and the console releases. And there's just something really awkward about the sound in Ghost of Sparta, and there's the same with Chains of Olympus. But it has everything that Chains of Olympus had, pretty much to the T. And here we are upgrading our fire blades, which aren't that exciting for a number of reasons. It's this rechargeable fire blade thing. You'll see it displayed as a red meter in the top corner. But it's not so great for a couple of reasons. One, as you watch the video, it's very tough to tell when I'm using fire and when I'm not. The other thing that's kind of annoying about it is it doesn't really encourage much strategy or planning, because basically you use it when the meter's full, and then when it's not full, you're rolling out of the way, letting it recharge. And it does have that nice effect where when you hit an enemy, it kind of sticks in them and explodes. That's kind of cool. But other than that, it really just is another God of War. And it's a very, very solid game. The mechanics are great. The combat feels just like it did in Chains of Olympus, pretty much just like it did in God of War 3. But is that enough? And that's yet to be determined for me. I haven't finished it. So far I've enjoyed every second that I've played, but at a certain point it's like we need a new formula. You know what I mean? Like the same coat of paint in a different color just isn't going to cut it anymore. Here we are fighting a pretty cool boss battle, and that's something that Ghost of Sparta does just as well as the other entries in the series. Great boss battles. We're fighting some naked demon, witch, death beast creature here. And actually, we're pretty low on health. This was one of the more challenging parts that I've played thus far. But we will persevere, of course, because we are Kratos, and we are angry. Yes, this God of War has all sorts of screaming and mean faces and yelling and everything you've come to know and love about our dear friend Kratos. The graphics do help a lot. You know, it's really cool to be playing this kind of a game on the PSP, I think, for as much hate as the PSP gets. But it brings up kind of a fundamental issue that I have with these kind of handheld games. They're only great when you're traveling. Why would I play Ghost of Sparta when I could sit at home and play God of War 3? You know, that's just... I've got a hard time with that. I don't think that this kind of game can ever really be AAA, because it doesn't compare to console releases, and really is only special if you've got a long trip or a regular long commute. Is it a good game? Absolutely. Is it a game of the year contender? No. One thing I will say that is kind of wearing thin about the God of War formula is all of the QuickTime events, and especially in this game, man, early on especially, I really noticed how there's so many that were instant fails. Like, you just jump off a cliff and be expected to hit a button right away. Here's one right now. After we jump off this icy edge, boom, we have to hit circle in a very split second, and I died a few times there because I had no idea what button I was supposed to press. But thankfully, the game remedies itself with cool moments like this. You know, this free-for-all through, it's very reminiscent of God of War 3, and something that I don't know that they could have done in the first PSP game. Again, they're really pushing the system to its max, and this was a fun moment. So, it's not that I don't like Ghost of Sparta, it's just that I played Ghost of Sparta, and why would I play Ghost of Sparta on a 3-inch screen when I can play a game that is almost identical, albeit a few different scenes and a few different bosses, on my 50-inch HD TV? Kind of an easy choice for me, you know? I'll pick the HD TV and the console every single time. Regardless, it's a great game, and if you have a PSP, you make a lot of trips, or you're just jonesing for more God of War, I can definitely wholeheartedly recommend Ghost of Sparta. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Horde, a new indie game on the PSN, and it's really weird. It's a twin-stick shooter style game where you are a dragon going to collect as much gold as possible. Left stick to move, right stick to breathe fire. And it's competitive and cooperative. This is a competitive mode called Treasure, where you're going around attempting to collect, what do you know, as much treasure as you possibly can. I'm facing off against 2 computer opponents, and they're not very bright. So to set this up, we're going around and destroying buildings and collecting the gold from the buildings. We then take it back to our Horde, deposit it, and get some XP to level up. there's a lot going on at once. You gotta keep track of what your opponents are doing, what you're doing, what buildings you're destroying, and what you're upgrading. You can upgrade your speed, your fire breath, your armor, and how much you can carry. And typically, early on, I like to upgrade my speed and my fire breath just so I can go destroy some more buildings really quick. Right there, you'll see me picking up a princess, and again, this is just another mechanic, but adds some depth and complexity to the game. You get a princess, knights come charge at you, and you try to hold her in your castle to get a whole lot of gold. Now, one of the interesting things is that if you don't kill a town right as it starts, because they're kind of growing constantly, and it's this, you know, ecosystem that's occurring without you even knowing about it or doing anything about it, if you let it grow, it will start sending out more and more valuable carts. So sometimes it's your benefit to not destroy something. Where this gets weird is when you're playing competitively, because you could not destroy something only to have your opponent come in and destroy it, and then while you were trying to have it grow to give you bigger carts with more money, instead you just gave your opponent some easy money. And as you can see, I've got a little medallion above this town, which means I did enough damage to make them afraid of me, but not enough to kill it. So it's going to start sending carts automatically my way. And as you can see, there's a heck of a lot going on, and you really never know what strategy you should be having, except go collect gold. And against the computer, that's the only strategy you really need. When you die, you get automatically sent back to your horde, and you refill your life. There's not a lot of altercation. I don't really find myself wanting to shoot my opponents, because you can only fire when you're stationary. Therefore, if your opponent just runs away, you're never going to get them. And something that's really saddened me about Horde is that I've tried multiple times to find a game online, and I can't find any. Like, 0 games. I've created games, I've attempted to join any mode. You know, I'm not attached to this treasure mode. I'll play the other ones, of which there are a handful. One where you're required to capture a certain number of princesses, and one where you just hold out for as long as you possibly can. But I can't get any. And as you can see, it would be a lot of fun with other people. It does have local play, which could be a lot of fun, but I'm not really sure where the interaction is going to occur, because I feel like I'm just kind of operating on my own accord, going and collecting gold. And as you can see, I'm winning pretty handily. I've almost got double the money of my opponents. And yet, this game is just packed with detail, packed with stuff going on. There's magic towers that drop gems, and thieves that attempt to steal from your horde. So much going on that I don't really even know if strategy matters, or if you should just go and collect gold, because that's kind of what I do, and I've never lost. Maybe it'd be different online, but I can't find a game online, so Horde's sort of up in the air right now. It's a cool game with a lot of interesting mechanics, but a really awful, if non-existent community, and some cinchy AI, making for an experience that is only so far.